Right, and we're live. It's your man DJ Seiko Farner back with another episode of the Fly Guys podcast. We have some fly folk in the room. We have Crumb Snatcher in the room. We have Cousin Sam in the room. What's good, fellas?
Peace, brother. Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
Hey, man, I'm honored to be on the Crumb TV platform. I'm feeling good. It is well. That's what I'm saying, man. It is well. All right. What about you, Sam? What's good?
Man, I can't complain. I mean, change. A lot of change going on, so I can't complain.
All right, good stuff. Good stuff. Well, we're gonna hop right in. We're gonna hop right into it, man. Because Star Armstrong is gonna be our host for tonight, so she'll be tapping in a little bit. And the topic for tonight is flushing the BS that Black folks accept. So we got a lot of things that are unacceptable in our community, man. And I want to just chat on a few of them. We're not going to have the ability to deal with the myriad of everything tonight. We're just not going to have the ability to deal with the myriad of everything tonight. But I do think that we can deal with a couple of the things. So we have Dan Trez on me that popped in. And Shay, what's good, Queen? How you doing, Shay?
Good evening. Good evening.
All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Dan Trez, what's good, brother? You feeling good?
I'm good. Just trying to set up the lighting better. So yeah.
We'll make it happen. All right. So Crumb, man, I know that you were really passionate with some thoughts on things that we need to flush in the so-called Black community. And let me give a disclaimer. We're not stupid. We don't think we're a crayon color. We don't think we're coming from a nation called Black, a city called Black, a planet called Black. We're not talking about skin color properly. We're not necessarily talking about nationality. We're not necessarily talking about legal status. We're using a commonly accepted term to deal with people of African descent, indigenous people of African descent, indigenous people, whatever term you want to use. That's what we're talking about, Moorish, whatever term you want to use. All right. So disclaimer, we're not stupid. Crumb, what are some of the things that we need to flush, bro?
I'd say we definitely have to flush white Jesus for one. Number two, the thing that we have to flush, we're going to have to flush our dependency on white people. Number three, the third thing that we're going to have to flush is we're going to have to flush this language. We're going to have to get away from this whole English language that we're speaking.
Why do you say that, bro? Why do you say that?
There's a curse on the language. This language is a dead language. A lot of us are having our tonsils removed because of the language, not because of anything else. Primarily that, in addition to diet. Stuttering, it all comes from the language. Our children performing low on IQ tests, that's because of the language, not because of intellectual quotient.
Interesting. And Star has joined us. Queen, what's up? Salute to the Queen, Star. What's up, Star? How you doing, girl?
Hey, everybody. How y'all doing?
Cool. All right, so Star, you're going to be leading us in this one. So I don't even know how to introduce you. So I'm going to allow you to introduce yourself again. Introduce yourself to the master students who follow Crumb and to the fly folks who follow the Fly Guy show, the Fly Guy podcast. Introduce yourself, Star.
Greetings, everybody. It is good to be back in here. My name is Star, and I am an author, a motivational speaker. I have a nonprofit organization called Clever Communities in Action. I am an advocate for our people. I have many years of working with our youth. I am passionate about everything that relates to our community. I am the granddaughter of freedom fighters, originally from Gadsden, Alabama, and then grew up in VA. It is my pleasure again to be up here with everybody. Did you guys already? I know I'm a little late to the party. Did everybody else already introduce themselves? I see a yes or no.
What? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Give each one of us an opportunity to introduce ourselves.
Okay. Well, ladies first. So we have Shay on here. So Shay, tell everybody who you are and a little bit about yourself.
Counselor educator, and my current business is a nonprofit to give kids the foundation they need to be able to read, but also to kind of correct this American propaganda narrative that we've been given so we can get an accurate history and understanding of our community.
That's what's up. And then moving right on this way, Danny.
Peace. Y'all know me as Dan Trezoma. You can call me Danny though. My people call me Danny, but I'm an educator, capoeirista, and a b-boy.
All right. And then, okay. And what the brother above Danny, I know we've like chatted, we've done the messages before, but I need a formal introduction to you.
Well, hello everyone. Yeah. Oh, hello everyone. My name is Sam. I'm an accountant by trade, and my cousin, he was interesting perspective. Come join us. You always have something to say. All right, cool. So here I am. I'm enjoying all of this. This is great. I'm glad to be back. A lot of things happened, so I couldn't join you. I'm just happy to be here.
Okay, Sam, what's your area code?
I'm in DC.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure about something. All right, and then Seiko, have you already introduced yourself?
I did. I'm the God-loving, God-fearing, nocturnal hip-hop poppy Africano Miyamo DJ Seiko Varner, back with another episode. And I love the fact that you're in charge this time, Shay. So I'm going to step back, salute the goddess, and fade to the darkness.
And I'm Star. But okay, and then last but not least, the channel, the host that we're on, Crumb, I guess everybody watching knows, but in case somebody tuned in off of us and they're not familiar, then tell everybody who you are.
Peace and love. I am your humble brother, Crumb. I am a master's student. I am a talking head. I am a scholar who researches and teaches from a original perspective: melanated, carbonated, Black, Moorish, Indigenous, Aboriginal, what have you. Anything and all things our people is where I'm going to speak pertaining from.
That's what's up. So we got a super panel here. Like some of you all, I know I've listened, like Danny, I subscribed to your podcast today. I checked out where my killer tape at and Don't Raise an F Boy. I really enjoyed that. Shout out to that. Y'all make sure you subscribe to Where My Killer Tape At by Dan Trez on me if you haven't already. Shay, I know personally. Seiko, I know personally. And Sam and Crumb, I know some stuff about you. So this is going to be interesting. You guys were kind of like, what we're going to be talking about today. And I'm like, things might move around in a lot of different ways. Just let it be what it be. Like we got quite a few different personalities up here, but one common goal and thing that unites us, and that's the love of our people. So Seiko and I were kind of talking, and you know, our conversation went from misogyny in the community, a lot of different ways, but something that kind of was like the undertone of the conversation. We started talking about our youth, talking about the way that a lot of men treat women. And the thing that came up was the L word, love. a love or lack of love. The treatment of others has a lot to do with how somebody views themselves. And so one of the things when Seiko was talking about the youth that he works with, I'm talking about the children that I work with. And I said that a lot of the actions that we see, the way the children, some of them talk to each other, the way that we see things set up in our community, a lot of times everybody ready to drag one another. I have said that a lot of our babies suffer from what I call a love deficiency. So my remedy for that is that we have to exercise what I call guerrilla love fair tactics. Like we've heard about guerrilla warfare tactics, but I say guerrilla love fair tactics and what that looks like when we're dealing with our youth. But if that's how we have to deal with our youth, like the way children are, when issues are not addressed, then they become adults who suffer from the same things, and this spills on to other people, right? And it permeates through our community. So I think, I'm sorry, I'm reading and talking, but I think one of the things that we wanted to start talking about today was how we interact with one another. Like I was talking to Seiko about the fact that I see everybody is always here for the dragging. Okay, like they're ready to drag. We are ready to run. If there is a disagreement, we're not getting ready to talk this out. We're getting ready to be like petty. You know, I'm seeing grown people who brag about being petty, like, yo, I'm petty. But then if we have children with petty behavior, we are trying to stop that or correct that, right? We're ready for a dragon. So let's talk about it in the beginning. Like, how do you all think we as a community, because we're all here talking about a love of our community, but do we show that all the time, or do we put forth the effort? Are we seeing that being put forth and how we communicate and how we interact with one another? Somebody, anybody.
I'm gonna go. Can I go first? If that's cool.
Sure.
No, I think first of all I want to say that was a dope phrase. I'm gonna start using guerrilla love. I'm gonna start using that because I think that's really dope. I'm just gonna say that I work with young people, of course, and they're between the ages of 16 and 24. And I know we do what's called the ACE. I don't know if you guys do that where you're at. We do what's called the ACE, an ACE test. Not a test, an ACE evaluation. I think Seiko, you might be familiar with it. And they ask them a series of questions, and if they score like a 4 and above, they're gonna have a lot of they're gonna suffer from a lot of trauma. Mm-hmm. So I deal with youth who I'm gonna say about 68% of the population that I deal with, they score with a 5 and above on that ACE evaluation. So they've been victims of sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental, emotional, drug abuse. So I deal with that consistently on a day-to-day basis. And they do not come from a place of love. So I've had students tell me, hey, the only way we'll listen to you is if you cuss at us and if you yell at us and if you berate us, And I know that I'm not old school, so like I don't even when I talk to my babies, I don't come from that place where I'm cussing at them or yelling at them. I just really try to talk to them, negotiate, bring things back, discuss, and try to give them a better understanding. So I know I agree with you overall. That is the case. I think what happens is when we have, and I think with the operative term is debates, right? When we have these debates, when we have disagreements with one another, adults, a lot of times they don't come from places of love. I'm not saying that when I have a debate with someone and it gets heated, that I'm not gonna speak to them the next day. I think that's I don't think we work that way. I just know that a lot of us operate from this idea that my lane is the right lane. And I see this happen a lot too. Like when we talk about activism, when we talk about consciousness raising, there are people that'll say, well, I don't do consciousness raising. I do, that's not really real activism. Or they'll say stuff like, all the protesting and marching, we're done with that. And we berate that. Or we'll say that teachers are not doing enough. Or we'll say that those people that are doing, economics, they're not doing enough. So I know a lot of times we feel like, because I'm in this particular lane of education, a lot of people in my field will say someone who's teaching Black economics is not doing everything they need to do, or someone that's doing consciousness raising is not doing what they're supposed to be doing. But it's a multi-pronged attack. White supremacy is a multi-pronged attack. So we have to defend ourselves in a multi-pronged fashion and also attack in a multi-pronged fashion. So it's real easy for me to look at someone who's doing any other kind of activism and look down upon it, and that's not fair. And I see that happen a lot. We like to degrade other people for doing the work that they do and not seeing it as something that's worthy of the liberation of our people.
Word. Yeah, you said a mouthful there. The degradation in our interaction, and like you said, not necessarily coming from a place of love. Like I said, I see so much. I'm here for the dragging. I see it on Facebook, Instagram all the time, and it'll be people who are supposed to be about our people, and everybody is ready to see somebody get dragged. And I'm like, it's real easy to say, you know, black this, black people that, you know, I love my people for the culture, but and I mean, it'll be just disagree, you know, things that people disagree about, not necessarily something that's a threat to, you know, the advancement of our people. Just, you know, somebody says something you don't like and you ready to drag them and talk about personal features and all kind of crazy things. Crumb, I'm interested in your thoughts.
Oh, well, you know, I had talked to Seiko earlier, and I said, you know, what are we going to be talking about? And he said that, well, matter of fact, I don't think he said we were going to talk about it, but he just mentioned drag culture. And when he said it, I was like, I'm sorry, excuse me. I was like, hold on. I hope he's not talking about, no. He said Star wants to deal with drag culture. She's very interested in drag culture. Quote unquote. Quote unquote.
Seiko.
I was very upset at first.
You didn't ask for clarification. You were just like, I'm gonna roll with it, lean with it, rock with it.
Like, oh, that's what she's interested in?
And how is that relevant? Like,
but he went on to explain to me that you were talking about how our people like to come and see each other get dragged within certain realms, like debating, or even on Facebook, somebody posts something and then in the comments it'll be like Michael Jackson eating popcorn and it'll say, I'm just here for the comments, you know, just to see somebody get dragged.
You know what? I tell you, it bothers me that we've only focused so much on the destruction. You know, I was saying with Crumb the other day that, you know, as people are 5%ers, those who build and destroy, we're always focused too much, not all. We're too much of us are focused on the destruction rather than the building. And that's what the dragging culture, I'm here for the drag culture, is really turned out. I mean, if you look at Love and Hip Hop, that's what that's kind of about. You know, we recently had, what's the girl's name? Cardi Red. We recently had Cardi Red here at the 757 for the Black Brand event. And it was interesting to me because we had Dr. George C. Frazier on stage, and he was talking about how we need to work together. Our business have to do this, and we have to stop doing certain things. And I was like, wow, a lot of the things he's talking about are part of drag culture, which Cardi Red is a part of. And, you know, hey, I know people who love watching reality shows, but they're not dealing with the reality of the problems that are facing our people. So that we're here for the drag culture thing is really destroying us. We got to do something about it.
Shay,
you saw my face, didn't you? I'm ready. Yeah, the reality TV show thing, and I think what I want to say is that it's human nature to kind of be fascinated by people's messiness. So it's not just Black people that kind of, ooh, what are they doing? Because reality TV didn't even start with our shows. But I think what happens is we have a couple of things going on where we've kind of taken on the colonizer mindset. And we also have media that feeds us, right? And so like World Star Hip Hop, The Shade Room, media outlets like that, they're pushing this narrative. I had a conversation with my crew the other day, and I was trying to share with them that my observation is that a lot of our media is focused on the negative. It's focused on the trauma of the Black community, and it celebrates it. And that's not something you see as a prominent feature in other cultures. But when you look at who controls the media, okay, but why are we getting that narrative? Who is distributing this narrative and who's consuming it? So we're consuming it, but so is the rest of the world. Hip hop culture is huge, huge. And so we have this perspective of everybody kind of seeing the Black community as thugs and gangsters, but not recognizing all of the things that kind of support and reinforce that and keep it going.
I agree. And you brought up a great point in the fact that it's not just our community that does that. I don't know if we, the fact that we've coined a phrase for it, but I have an affliction of being a comment reader. And so definitely on Facebook and everything, I'll read articles, I'll be on YouTube, and I see white people coming for each other like, oh my God. Oh, so it's not just us, but I think y'all heard of Black Twitter. Y'all y'all know about the dozens. Like we put, some extra sauce on everything. And we've said before, or like the saying goes, if everybody else has a cold, I think it says flu, or we had a flu or pneumonia. So when you're dealing with a community that has already been, adversely affected in so many ways, we do want to point out that these are not things that are just happening within our community, but we do want to understand the effects of it happening in our community. And then Shay, you brought up the point of, who is there. There's a particular channel where every time, because I have notifications from it, and it's always something bad. It's like a person got shot, a white woman cursed out Black. It's just that over and over again. And I think people call that trauma porn. So it's a lot of that circulating around, and it's interesting now that we have the ability to create our own content. I even see some popular content creators where when they're beefing, everybody tunes in for that as well. So, and we have the ability now, like Crumb has a huge following, and we're here today, and so many others to, kind of work on that. And so I think we need to move forward talking about like why this is important. We're not just saying this for feels like, oh, everybody love, let's all love, what the world needs now is love, love, love. It's bigger than that. It's deeper than that. Like the way in which we move and we want to accomplish these goals, I'll say love and respect, because saying that I want to see you get dragged, and more so respect, I would not take delight in seeing any of y'all being dragged. Like I won't take delight in anybody Black being dragged unless they are someone who is proven to continuously be a threat to the advancement of our community. So
when you said continuously, how many chances are we going to give folks?
Let's set a standard. I think and I think when we talk about a community code, that is important, and so many things are relative, because I guess you could say like, what is it? Like there may be some things that you're like, okay, we told you once, we told you twice, third time. And then there's some things that is like, bro, you're out. Like you out. But I want to hear from Sam. Your thoughts?
Well, I'll have to say this. My thoughts are, it comes from, I think, low self-esteem. And with social media now in this day, and everyone is seeking attention. It doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. And when it comes to YouTube or any social media platform, When you come for somebody, when you drag them, when you read them, you get followers, you get likes, you're tweeted. And for a lot of people, it gives them a sense of self-esteem. And I think in our community, because we get so much negativity, yet everybody wants to be like us, we sometimes will take this as me or some sort of validation when people are here basically for their entertainment to get their rocks off. You make them feel good, you entertain them for 5 seconds, and they're off to whatever else makes them feel good and strokes their ego. But I think as a community, before we can gather, we have to find a way to mend our own heart and find a way to love ourselves in a very different way. We can't live our lives the same. Like Crumb always talks about how comparing things with us and white, we have to do things a different way. And we have to formulate what that means for us. The problem is we allow to set narratives for us and then we accept them the other way around, that we set the narrative and we set the tone. Love and Hip Hop, all of those franchises, when you look who owns them, they're not by us. Mona Scott may be the executive producer, but when we talk about ownership, it's a person of color. They're the ones who profit the most off of the buffoonery that we see. And now, unfortunately, we have a generation that is being rewarded for bad behavior. So what people do, and they say, hey, they get on TV, I want to now be a reality star. I can make some money, whatever I want to do, and I get rewarded for dragging people, talking about their skin complexion, how they look, how they dress, all of that. So now we have a society that rewards us for bad behavior. And I think we as a generation have to do what it takes. Now, do I know all the answers? No. But I think a lot of it starts within our own communities, and we have to set higher standards.
You just said a mouthful. I like you said a mouthful. The first thing you talked about is low self-esteem, and that kind of falls back. And we know that there are hundreds of years of historic things that happened that created this low self-esteem. That, you know, like I always say, being human is can be difficult at times, period. And then interjected things going on in society that could make it that way for just about anybody. But you add all of the historic things that have happened to our community on top of that, things that, you know, put low self-esteem on the community. And then you have a recipe for disaster, potentially. So I think that's and a lot of the overcompensation, or like you said, people coming on trying to find self-esteem, trying to, you know, drag somebody to say something negative, to come for somebody, to make them feel good momentarily. The social media has become what, like another drug. Like when they said cocaine is a hell of a drug, Facebook is a hell of a drug, you know, Instagram is a hell of a drug, you know. And I think people are injecting themselves daily. So yeah, Seiko, what you got to say?
Wow.
We can't hear. Can y'all hear Seiko? Seiko, we can't hear you.
All right.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah.
Good now. All right. So we've talked about those things. We've talked about self-esteem. We've talked about dragging culture. One of the things that I want to talk about is how we don't value our creations. So we place everyone else's. Okay, I'm speaking in absolutes, and we know as soon as you use the absolute, it's not absolutely true. But we do place value on others' creations. You know, as little as we value the names that Europeans created more so than we value the names that we create. You know, and we call the names that we create ghetto names or made up names, when every name, every word, every concept was made up. Every holiday was made up. You know what I'm saying? Every day of the week was made up. All this stuff was made up. is man-made. We need to celebrate the things that we make and not necessarily demean them the way that we do. And in doing so, we need to accept our creation. We need to accept the things that our creation will bring forth. And I think that's one of the problems that we have. That's one of the areas that we really suffer from is we don't value the things that we create. Like for instance, some of us get conscious and now we want to destroy the black church. Now, I'm not saying that the black church isn't problematic in some areas. I'm not saying that the religion of the black church isn't problematic in some areas, but I've seen problems in all groups. I think that every organization has its functions and its dysfunctions. And so understanding that we can't just go around willy-nilly and trying to destroy things thinking that's going to solve the problem. We can solve problems by focusing on the issues that are, exacerbating the problem. But sometimes we try to go too far and we just try to destroy everything. And those are two of the things that I think we need to focus on. We talk about flushing the BS. We need to stop. That's part of dragging culture. All right, I'm going to drag down the church. I'm going to drag down this group. I'm going to drag down the politicians. I'm going to drag down the conscious folks. I'm going to drag down the hoteps. I'm going to drag down this. I'm going to drag down the feminists. I'm going to drag down. We always want to drag everything. Well, I'm saying always. And once again, I'm speaking in absolutes. So I'd like for us to kind of, I'd like for us to kind of define some of the things that we think need to be flushed personally. So, like, I like to know what Crumb thinks need to be flushed. I want to know what Danny thinks needs to be flushed. Danny's probably going to come from his black male feminist piece. That's going to be interesting to hear. I want to hear what Shay thinks needs to be flushed. I want to hear what Sam thinks needs to be flushed, and I'm not in charge. So this is all on Star's permission. So with your permission, Star, I think that we all have some things that need to be flushed. And we can start with you, Star. What are some things that need to be flushed?
Well, I think it's, anti-black sentiments. I think what needs to happen is establishing a code. Like, as you guys go around and start talking about things that need to be flushed, because when you said destroy the black church and people want to destroy everything, what we want to destroy are certain behaviors, certain actions. And I don't even think it's strategic to say things that people hold so near and dear to their hearts. Like, you're not going to pull people off of that just by telling them, saying negative things about it. But I think, we can go around and identify certain behaviors, certain patterns, certain things that need to stop, rather than looking at individuals. So that's what, and I'm interested in hearing what everybody else has to say as well. So Shay, what are some things that, you would like to flush?
I try to see value in a lot of things, but if I was going to say let's shift from something, I would say celebrity culture, the worship of money, the idea that, oh, they made it. That's what I want to do. I want to make money. Like Sam was saying, it's like whatever gets me what I need is what I want to go for. And I think we really need to get away from that and start being able to say, okay, is this good for me? Is this good for my community?
Those two are those are great, sis. Definitely celeb culture has us, listening to people like Dan Trez's friend Clifford. That's what the celebrity worship does. People are quoting him as somebody who we need to listen to and follow. Y'all's boy T.I. Yeah, what you said about the worship of money, everybody's trying to secure the bag. And I think a big thing is going back to a community first standard. Like you said, instead of thinking about how does it benefit me, how does it benefit the community, my community? So next, Dan Trez, what are you flushing?
I was really, when I texted everybody yesterday, I was really looking for a specific subject. And then I kind of feel like this is like really broad. I try to be real careful when we say things like this, because I don't really think that I'm in the business of policing like certain behaviors. I don't think I'm in that business. But I will say that, piggybacking off of what you said when we talked about Clifford, I do think, and Malcolm X talked about this all the time. He talked about how we look at a lot of our leaders as celebrities and athletes, and I wish we could really move away from that, because we know more about who our local, our athletes are versus who our local community activists and community people, community servants are. And I think we need to start bigging up those community servants in our discussions. I'm in the podcast lane, so I really try to interview people who are doing things for the community versus trying to get someone who's making a lot of money, being a celebrity, et cetera, et cetera. So I wish you would really focus on that. And it goes back to what you're teaching in the home, right? Who are we celebrating in the home? Who are we talking about in the home? Who are we talking about in our classrooms, right? I know oftentimes in our classrooms, when we ask our students to talk about leaders, they'll say somebody like Oprah. They'll say somebody like, Michael Jordan. They say somebody like Missy Elliott, who, I love Missy Elliott. I love Oprah. I love LeBron James. But, I always encourage my students to look for historical figures, particularly, modern, that are doing things now that are not celebrities. So I'm going to piggyback off of what Shay said about celebrity culture. But I also piggybacking off of what Seiko was talking about. We do need to value what we create. I really am all for that. I'm all about, shout out to Kwanzaa. It's coming up. My favorite Kwanzaa principle is Kujichagulia, which is self-determination. And I really think that's my favorite Kwanzaa principle. And it's probably the only Kwanzaa principle I follow throughout the entire year, because we're supposed to be following all the principles throughout the year. It's probably the only one that I follow throughout the year. So I need to do better on that. But we need to teach more self-determination. We need to really support that and really teach the history of our people, because we are doing a horrible job on that. I was on Crumb's show a couple of weeks ago, and I talked about that, how my generation really failed the current generation because we don't really teach the history of our people, because we can't expect no one else to do it.
Word, that's definitely important. And I want to say this, Seiko, you did a close up. Shout out to Dan Trez and his beard game. I haven't seen you in a long time. You definitely got that thing going on there. That's what's up. So you said the one thing I want to ask you though about policing behavior. I don't want to be into that either. And if I feel like I'm charting, like heading there, I try to check myself, because we are not monolithic. But however, I think it's about setting code standards, because a lot of us have talked about, we work with youth, and if you have a household with a man and a woman and children in it, or whomever, if it's more than one person, or even in your household with yourself, and if other people are coming in or just with yourself, we usually set code and standards in our classroom, with how we deal with each other, whatever. So I think that's more so what we're kind of throwing out as things to look at, to establish a code here. But definitely, like you said, teach the history.
If I could jump back in, I'm not slighting anybody. But one thing I don't do is I don't do respectability politics. That's one thing I don't do. And respectability politics is the idea that our oppression is rooted in how we act. I don't do that. So I tell my students all the time, I'm as ratchet as they come. I'm from the projects. I act a fool. I turn up. When I clock out, I turn up. You know what I'm saying? Most of my students will tell you if they see me in the supermarket, it's because I'm in the wine section. So I really try not to really police behaviors. Yeah, when it's time to work, and any of my students will tell you, the way I get down, when that bell ring, we work to the next bell ring. We work. You're going to work in my class. You're going to write. You're going to read. We're going to do all that. But I try not to really police behavior, and I don't do respectability politics at all, because our oppression is not rooted in how we act.
Yeah, and I agree. Look, the older I got, the more I understood the value of wine, in moving through this thing called life. I don't think we're saying that, again, I think, you know, like, well, how you dance or how you, you know, whatever. But right here, right now, we're just saying again, I think in our homes, in our, you know, various ways, sometimes I don't think anybody is saying that our oppression is a cause of that, but just for us to think things. Again, celebrity culture. Let's look at that. Let's dissect that. Let's examine that. Let's look at how we don't value our own. Or like what you said, you know, I always say, if you are not teaching the culture to our babies, if you're not teaching the history to our babies, then you're doing a disself to, you know, them, ourselves as individuals and the community at large. So I'm with you with that. Like, you know, that's a big thing. And I don't think that's a respectability thing. It's something that, you know, we want to flush out, not teaching the history to our babies, or we want to insert teaching the history and making that be a part of you know, like a weekly, if not daily thing. But yeah, you know, I feel you on that. People will go back and forth about that whole respectability thing. And I think we need to sometimes figure out how to agree to disagree. When you establish a code, then if it's not that, then you just got to walk away from it and say, we don't agree. Like if it's not these, you know, 10 points that we're talking about right here, if it's not on that, then, you know, like, hey, we're wasting time. But Sam, what are you wanting to flesh out?
Is Sam unmuted?
Okay.
I think Sam is muted.
All right. So
Okay.
what I want to flesh out is, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. All right. What I want to flesh out is self-deprecation, because I think we take on, like, this is my personal belief. Not everybody may agree, but I believe that energy, we have to be mindful of the energy to ourselves. And I think a lot of times activity of people are portrayed in society. I think a lot of times we ingest that in instead of rejecting it and creating another narrative. And I think that when you hate yourself, it's easy to do things that perpetuate and create negative stereotypes. That's why I'm saying it's up to us to start creating and start planting this generation and generation of positivity to see ourselves in a different light. You know, I mean, the fact that Miss Universe and others, they're Black, and how much is being celebrated, and of good things that Black people are doing in this country and world. What we have to begin to do is we have to begin to focus on those things, because we're our walking representations for society, for Black people as a whole. Because like recently for my birthday, I went to the Philippines to celebrate with my Pinoy family, had a great time. But I remember I'm a person, how I walk, talk, everything. I represent every Black person on the planet, even though I'm not responsible for every Black person on the planet. So what I'm saying is we all have to begin to start a narrative. We're going to have to reject these negative narratives and stop allowing ourselves and even those in our culture to be true about all.
So I'm interested. It seems like to me, is there a little, okay, I think we lost Dantrez because I was about to ask him something. But we have somebody, because I was like, wait, what just happened here? Somebody showed up with the tie and the vest, and I don't see Crumb anymore. So
I'm still here. I just got to get my cord and hook my laptop up. It's about to die. So.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, while you're handling that, we're gonna get the brother that's suited and booted down here. What's your name, sir? And
Eddie.
Eddie. All right, Eddie, how are you doing this evening?
I'm well, thank you.
All right, great, great. Glad to have you join us. So what we are talking about, since you just dove right in, you're gonna get in it, double dutch right into this.
Yep.
What are your thoughts about some things that you would like to see flush, that we should flush out of the Black community? We've had Sister Shay who said celebrity culture. She said let me see, the worship of money. We have Danny who said and Seiko were like, we need to value what we create and we need to teach the history to our children. So we need to flush out not valuing what we create and not teaching the history to our children. And then we have Sam who said, stop perpetuating, I think if I'm paraphrasing correctly, stop perpetuating negative stereotypes. And so what do you got to say, brother?
So I'm a co-sign that whole we need to teach our history, because I said it to somebody earlier today. But one of the things we need to flush out is stop not parenting our kids. Stop being so, it's not important to be their friend. Like, we're not teaching our kids values anymore. And one of the things we need to flush is lack of communication skills. And this social media culture where we let kids, we let social media be the parent, the babysitter. We let that also dictate how our kids interact. They don't know how to talk to one another. They don't know how to talk to adults. They don't know how to talk to anybody. And that's, that's a problem. And I say that as a parent, as an educator, no, because I find myself saying, like, who are you talking to? I don't like that. And I promise you, just because I got this tie on, it's probably never that clean. For real. I'm like, I used to teach in hood. I'm like, yo, who the fuck are you talking to? It is really that simple. Who are you talking to? And they looking at you like, huh? No. And we got to stop that. Like, and I tell kids, I'm like, we've lulled our children into this false sense of thinking that they can say whatever they want to whoever they want, however they want, and there are no consequences. No, that shit will get you slapped in your mouth. That's how that's supposed to work. Real talk. Like I've had it up to here. Like, I'm really right here with it. I'm like, That's one of those things that's really annoying me. Like, we gotta stop letting that slide. And that's one of the problems with, like, public education. Stop pandering to kids and parents. I know that sounds crazy, but when did we stop when did we stop setting the standard for, okay, so this is how you act, this is how you act, this is how you're supposed to dress. These are the things, like, I find myself, you see this. I just came from a concert. I get tired of having to say to somebody, okay, explain to somebody what business casual is, what appropriate church attire is, you don't know that?
So I'm interested. I heard what you said. Now, Seiko, let me do a time check. How are we on time? Are we good, or
we're Gucci.
Okay, we Gucci. So I would like to hear Dan Trez's because I'm feeling like I'm hearing some, and again, I want to hear all sides on this, but what are your thoughts, Dan Trez, on what? And I'm sorry, tell me your name again. Eddie, that's right.
What was your question? You want me to my thoughts on what Eddie said?
Yes.
I agree with him. I fucks with Eddie. Yeah, I feel you. I'm as a parent. I've been in this gangster business as parenting for 26 years, and I operate a particular way. As a mentor for decades, as an educator, I agree, man. Like, it's wild, like how when I call a parent up, I'm not gonna lie, I shouldn't even, and Eddie, I shouldn't even be doing this. I have like a speech where I'm like, hey, I've been a parent for X amount of years, and I understand sometimes you get a phone call from the teacher saying they ain't do this work. I'm not commenting on your parenting at all. Just letting you know that your child is failing in my class, and these are the things he or she needs to do. And I do all this because I know that as soon as I say, if I just call up and say, Malik is not doing well in class, oh, we trying to say I'm a bad parent? And I'm like, no, I'm not trying to say that at all. So I feel you. I see a lot of parents doing things like and this is just one example, and I'll move on. I've had students that'll sleep in class, and I'm like, yo, what time you going to bed? And they be like, I'm going to bed at 2, 3 in the morning. And I'm like, bruh, you supposed to be, like, you don't have a bedtime? And they be like, nah, I actually don't have a bedtime. And when I talk to their parents, they're like, oh, nah, I let them go to bed whenever they feel like it. And I'm just like, wow. So yeah, I feel you 100%.
Yeah, because it's a problem. And then, we've taken, especially in education with No Child Left Behind, we've taken accountability away from the kids. And so they're not accountable for their work. Their parents aren't supposed to be accountable. So then they put it on us like, oh, it's your job. No, it's not my job. It's not my job. It's your job. I raise my kids. I'm not supposed to raise yours.
So, and when you guys bring that up, working with youth, I find that to be one of the most challenging task, and it's something that is very important. Like you said, what's happening at home, and it's kind of like you said, some people want to rally against that, but all forces matter. What's going on at home, what's going on in the community, but having done the work a lot of times, the home is the main influence, and the home is what creates the child in which we are working with. So I don't know. I feel like that's a whole nother show topic that we could have at another time. Like, that's its own animal right there. And it's something that's very important. So I feel you, Mr. Latifah. You said you had it up to here. I get it. I do. Yeah. So Seiko, what is it that you want to flush?
Well, I mentioned that we need to flush the tendency to not value our creations. I mentioned that we need to. All right, but one of the other things that I think we really need to flush, we need to flush the way we approach the political system. Now, you and I talked about this last time. There's some groups in the political realm that take us for granted that we're going to support them. It was kind of interesting. I went through an interesting metamorphosis. So I began voting as a Democrat, right? And then, Dan Trez is going to laugh at me, but I started listening to Rush Limbaugh, and I was like, oh, snap, this is interesting. All right, I see their value. Okay. So then I said, hey, Mom, Dad, I'm a Republican, right? And so I got disowned by the family, right? And then, 1995, I was listening to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and others who were talking about preparing for the Million Man March. And they said, we need to remove ourselves from all political parties because that's the only way to become empowered. And I thought about that for a year or two. And then I pulled away for both of them. And I was like, you know what? I'm not a D. I'm not an R. I'm definitely independent. I'm looking for the best plan. I'm looking for the best solution for our people at this particular time. I think we need to stop. Like, for instance, there's a lot of us who are celebrating that Trump was impeached. And I'm like, that's a nothing burger. It hasn't improved your life. It hasn't done anything good for you. And I'm not sure if it's going to. So I think we need to start saying, hey, and I said this in the last live, I am a registered voter with a voting history. I have 150 people with me. You need to do something that's part of my agenda to get my vote. So I think we need to start moving from being just voters to empowered blocks of votes, and we can get some of the legislation that's really going to improve our community. So the fact that we just blindly follow along with one political party, I think that's something we need to flush immediately.
Well,
I agree. Go ahead, Eddie.
I would say, I don't know if we need to flush that. What we need to flush is the Electoral College. That's the bullshit in the ointment. Real talk. Because the Electoral College was meant to help, these smaller states, but at this point, it's not helping. It's kind of balanced out. The fact is, in our current situation, what I don't like about our current situation, our current political climate, is the fact that as the Democratic Party, we're eating our young. We're eating our young in terms of, okay, so everybody's trying to get the nomination. Well, while you pick each other apart, Orange Cheeto is getting this. Like, are you kidding? So now, after you have picked each other thin, now we got to put this up against this little bad toupee wearing orange I'm sorry, and it's real personal because I'm in DC and we want him gone, like now, like really. You know what I'm saying? So that's my issue. It's not even. It's about because in our current situation, it's about look, what do we do to get this bastard out of office? Because he got to go. Now, I don't say I would not say technically that to say that the impeachment's a nothing burger. Nah. It's a call to arms that finally somebody's going to say, you know what? You got to be accountable for your crimes. Dude, you've committed treason. These are just 2 articles.
Bro, people are dancing in the streets over this impeachment. And I'm like, look, things have not changed.
But I mean, he's not going to get
okay. So here's the thing.
Removed. We know he's not going to get removed because you have bitch McConnell in the Senate. Yes, sweet ass Lindsey Graham, who just said, "Oh no, we're not going to do our job and uphold the Constitution." They've already said it, and so
let's let Shay get in here. Shay, what were you about to say?
So here's the thing: even if, let's say, it goes to the Senate sends it to a real trial, Senate convicts him, and he does get removed from office. They still have all the judges they've put in place.
Yep.
They still have Mitch McConnell with 400 some bills chilling on his desk. We still got the same racist people in everyday life. We got oh my gosh, I don't even want to talk about this 2A sanctuary city thing. But none of that is going to change. Nothing he's done gets undone. And so we really need to take a hard look at the way our system works and how we can start changing it.
And I agree with you because I've said many times, and I keep preaching that, while everybody's focusing on the White House, that's not our battle. Our battle is winning the Senate. Because again, bitch McConnell gotta go. Sweet ass Lindsey Graham gotta go. Every Republican that will stand lock, stock, and barrel with a president that they know is dead ass wrong and treasonous and bad for national security, but
the Democrats aren't doing anything for the community either.
Well, one thing that I think, Seiko, you said for as far as this is voters, I think we need to become strategic voters. I think that we need to have strategy when it comes to these different things. And one thing, like when you were talking about the Black church earlier, I have said that I feel like, because I say that the Black church, probably followed by things that happen with fraternities and sororities, are the things that get the most Black people en masse at one time consistently. And so I feel like churches should start incorporating classes like a politics for dummies. And I know that 501c3s are not able, they can't advocate for a particular candidate, but that's not to say that you can't educate people on the political process. And I think having a more informed voter populace, as well as strategy, because it's usually you go out and vote and you put the sticker on and everybody's like, yeah, I voted, And so just being more strategic and teaching people that process will empower us in a lot of ways. And, like Dan Tress said earlier, a lot of times we know more about celebrities than we know about the people who are holding office right in the cities and towns in which we live. So it's strategy. Like, I think as the people, we have to be strategic, like look at the land, pay attention to what has happened previously, look at what's happening now. How do we make things work? How in the discord and the dysfunction, how do we play? Like, because we tend to get played a lot. How do we start becoming a player and become empowered?
I just gave the strategy. Hey, I got a whole block of votes. And we're not Democrats, we're not Republicans, we're independent, and you need to follow our agenda, or we're not voting for either one of y'all. That's the strategy. What were you going to say, Ed?
Well, no, because I keep seeing a lot of people saying, because you mentioned it, we're talking about they have candidates haven't done anything for the community, and you know what? For that, I get that. What people said, President Obama didn't do anything for the Black community. So I have a question for this. What did the people that are saying that, what have you done? Real talk, I ask that all the time. What have you done? Because if you're not getting, what I'm saying? So we can't, I don't think we can change the political process from the outside of the process. All you are is people out. All we are is out there making noise. No, we have to get in on our local levels. It doesn't start at the top of this chain. It's like change in the school system. That shit doesn't come from the top. It comes from the bottom. So therefore, we got to get in on the bottom floor of this deal and start making change. If that means in our state and local governments, we got to start making change. We got to be present and push our agenda forward. We can't let them.
So if we're gonna get in like that, then go ahead, Danny.
Danny. Two things. I'm gonna say one thing. I know a lot of people say, my vote doesn't count, or XYZ, I don't vote. If voting wasn't a big deal, why they're so hard? When I say they, I usually say, right wing conservatives. Why are they so hard on suppressing the black vote? There are states where they suppress the black vote. There are states where they're hard on that shit. Yeah. Now they're talking about in next year we're supposed to get this federal ID so that we could travel between states, and you got to use that to vote. I'm not lying to you. October 1st, 2020, everybody got to have those federal IDs so you could travel from state to state. They're also going to use that to vote. So if you don't have that, they're not going to let you vote. So if our vote wasn't important, why do they work so hard to suppress it?
Because they know.
You know what I mean? Why the Voting Rights Acts have to consistently be updated every time? Because they know that the black vote is a powerful vote. Number two, I wish we had the same energy during the presidential elections for the local elections. The local elections, the elections that happen in between the presidential elections, are the ones that affect us immediately. The laws, the changes they made to the state constitutions, they make those changes within a few months. You feel it immediately once those changes are made, right? So I don't see that same energy. I don't see, when I go to the presidential election next year in November, the voting booths are full. But the subsequent years in between the presidential elections, I could walk in and out. And I'm like, man, what happened to that energy, right? So the way we're going to do it, the strategy is, it got to be from the ground up. We got to start at the lower levels, right? And move our way up. So, for example, I could run for city commission, right? And then in 4 years, run for state senator, right? And then run for state of Ohio Congress in DC, right? And then maybe the Senate. And you see what I'm saying? I create a track record, and my constituents hold me accountable. But I have to start from the bottom, and I have to work my way up. And it's going to take a couple of years, right? But we think that if I just vote right now, tomorrow everything's going to change. And that's not how that shit works.
Not at all.
So we are in a microwave society, but I think another issue comes back to a lot of people don't even know what those positions are that you named and how they affect their lives, like how closely they affect their lives or impact their lives. So I really think, like I said, it'd be dope, just putting this out there. I'm probably not the person who could create it, but who could help, is a politics for dummies type thing. And I really put a lot of onus on the church again, when it's the one that gets the most black people. I remember one day I was going somewhere and I actually wasn't driving. I was the passenger, and it happened to be on Sunday. Yeah, we were taking some of our youth to a state park. And I'm like just observing all these churches we're passing by and all these full parking lots. And I'm like, this is all like black people assembled here. And this is a great opportunity to dispense some useful information. So I think that, putting something together so that people can understand, like you said, what is the city commissioner? What do they do? How does that affect your life? When are the elections for that? Different things to make people more informed about that, because a lot of people everybody knows what the president is, or somewhat, has an idea of who the president is, what we've been told about that and everything. So that's why they show up for that. We need education. And like I said, I think the church, and then I'll say the fraternities and the sororities, y'all get the captive audiences of black people all the time, dispense this information. And then from the bottom up, I totally agree with that. Just moving with strategy though. And I think sometimes we got to be more shrewd. Like going back, we know how to drag and we know how to come for people, but like, let's be more shrewd with the power of our vote. Like, you know, it's not fun and games. We're talking about our lives, our future, the future of our youth, our children, our grandchildren, our great grandchildren. So I think that's the time we need to be strategically coming for people is, you know, the people who have the ability to make those decisions long term. And we need to be thinking about it like, you know, a minimum 50 years ahead. So, but I guess we're at a lightning round right now because it's getting a little late. So did anybody else? I'll let you know. Anybody? Just the rope is turning. Who's jumping in?
Well, that's funny.
Me.
Go ahead, baby.
Shay called it.
I just because I saw a couple of comments about getting rid of politics, and I used to hate politics, and I don't think people understand that politics really just means policy, as in the laws that regulate your life. And in this country, the way this country was founded, the way this country was developed, all oppression, extinction, the Japanese internment camps, slavery, all the Native American, all of that stuff was legal. All that stuff is done through law. And so when we learn the history of laws, and when we can start to make changes in the things that are broken and start making the laws work for the people. And I think we can do that, but we have to have the history and the education and the strategy.
All right. So Eddie, I think you were getting ready to jump in.
No, it's funny that you mentioned that those initiatives from the church, because my church today was talking about how we're informing the people, like we're starting with something as simple as the census and why it's important and why you have to, you know, how your funding comes. And we're starting that political education piece because we do that, you know. And so you say it, and that's funny. It's like, oh yeah, we're doing it. And I feel like a heathen because I hadn't been to church in like a month, but still, because I've been doing this right here and all over the place, but that's another issue. But still, those things are happening. And you know what? If more churches, because I live in an area where we got huge churches. I promise you, we can access between my church and let's see, 1, 2, 3, with 4 churches within a 2 to 3 mile radius of each other. I promise you, we access over 75,000 people. Seriously.
Wow.
Because I'm serious, we got some of the biggest churches, literally, probably again within a 5 mile circle. Yeah, we access about 75. I know half of Prince George's County goes to First Baptist Church of Glenarden.
So if your church can, you know, be a leader, or, you know, link with other churches, and I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, but I think we all can agree that it's not happening to the degree in which it could or should be happening. But I'm gonna give props to your church for actually doing that. Like, that is great. So we just need to see that happening more and more and more, because a lot of them are on the prosperity gospel or just the, you know, the scripture and, you know, that the religious aspect of it, and not the practicality a lot of times. So because whatever you attend, you are still a human being who navigates in this world and who is affected by the policy, as Shay stated. So that's dope for your church to be doing that. Sam, real quick, did you have anything else you wanted to add? I think there might be a little delay. Okay.
I just wanted to add real quickly. I think sometimes even this podcast, like what we're doing right now, is a great step in a positive direction. Like, we're coming together, we're not dragging, we all have different thoughts and views, and we're coming together to form a collective, and it's important. You know, we talk about, well, we need people to do this and do that, but I think that what we're doing right here is in a positive direction. And I think we need to use social media as in a more. So I'm just saying I'm happy for what we're doing and for all of us coming together.
All right, definitely using it, using social media,
and he got
all of these things in a positive way. Definitely, that is something that we didn't have the ability to do before. If you weren't on a main radio station, if you didn't get on a main television channel, but we can reach each other en masse this way. So using it for things that are not just about dragging or sensationalism, definitely for this group of people who assembled tonight, as well as all of the many other people, Black people on YouTube who are using it positively. So we talked about the things that we want to flush. So if you guys were taking notes, or if you go back and look at that again, I think the way I see that is the beginning steps of creating code. And it's code that, we can start. If you haven't already been doing it, you can start, implementing code with how we look at how we interact with one another. We started out with talking about love and respect. And so I think if we're really all about our community, then we should be moving out of respect and love. Like, if you really care about this, if you really are about this life, even when the correction has to happen, as you're talking about, and the frustration, like you were saying, Eddie, because trust me, I get it, but it's the reason why you still do it is because you have the respect, the love, and the value for the community, for our community. So as we interact with one another, let's make sure that we're interacting with each other, implementing this code, and we're the things that we're looking at, flushing the behaviors that seem to be a detriment to our community, and just moving from a place of love. I love us. I freaking love us, man. Like, we're pretty daggone phenomenal, yo. Like,
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
I want to shout out everybody in the chat room that's showing us a lot of love. There's a lot of love in that chat room. So I shout out to everybody, Jomo Jenkins, all of y'all that are showing us a lot of love. They're posting my link to my podcast. So I appreciate that. I really do, man. Y'all could be anywhere else. Y'all could be doing whatever y'all want. But y'all are here showing us love for real.
Yes, you guys. I was gonna get to that, and y'all, pardon me, because I'm kind of like, the YouTube platform is a little different for me, but I do see it popping up there, and thank you guys so much and I see some very interesting and dope and useful comments that you guys are adding to the discussion. We definitely see that and appreciate that. It's the 10 o'clock hour on the East Coast, and y'all are sticking it out with us. So thanks so much. And I want to shout out a special sister. Her name is on here, I think, Kay Croftus, and her IG handle is Kai Creatress, a dope sister that I met through this channel. If you guys want to follow her and show her some love, Kai Creatress, and she does some really great drawings. She taught me some things in the short period of time that I've gotten to know her through this channel. So I just want to say what's up to that sister. And everybody who is tuning in, we appreciate you all. Thanks to Crumb for the platform. And Seiko, did you?
Yeah, I want to give a couple of last words. Like, right now we have the image from Dear Black Man, I Need You. Star, talk about that really quick, because that's one of the ways that we're flushing out some of the BS.
So this Dear Black Man, I Need You is book that I wrote, and having a lot of years of working in our community and with our youth. What motivated me to write this was just the understanding. A lot of times I've been in situations where my group was all Black male teens. And even with my babies, when I had the babies, which would be a mixture of boys and girls, just the need for our brothers at our best in the community, and how I see things playing out when you guys are there, and the difference of how I see it playing out when you all are not there. So that book just speaks to the need of our men, and how powerful it is when we are working in sync as Black men and Black women for the betterment of our homes, our youth, and our communities. You can get that on Amazon. Yeah.
Big ups to you for that, because you know what? I'm glad that somebody recognizes the fact, and I say this as a Black male educator, that there's something magical about the way that we interact with kids and our ability to connect with kids. And the problem is that most systems are not equipped to handle that. They want your black face, but they want you to be a black man that is going to do what you're told. Herein lies most of my problems because, well, I don't conform to that. I just don't conform to that. And it's, and I've told superiors, I'm like, how you handle things is different, and how kids respond to you. You're the one in the classroom crying because little Johnny won't sit down, or he done called you a bitch or something, or cussed you out or something. I done looked at Johnny and told him, I will punch you in your throat. And Johnny has sat his whole tail down because it's a whole different level of respect. And how we handle things, they expect you to, a lot of systems, they want to script how you interact with young people. And so as a black man, that's not it. That's not how that works. But
and I feel like it takes two to create a human. So when the children are getting both energies at their best, because nobody just being there, because you could be there and you could be a detriment. But like being Anita Baker and giving it the best that you got. I told you I speak in song. So anyway, that is what we need. And so sometimes I feel like one energy is written off, and what we want is us working in sync, us working in tandem. I think the sister's presence is important and the brother's presence is important, and let's not forget that. I value the dope black men in my life just like I value the dope black women in my life, and I was raised from 12 to an adult by a single father, obviously a black man. So Seiko, was there anything else you wanted to say before we peace out?
Well, yeah, let's let everybody give their closing remarks and show us what their movement is. So I know Shay got a movement going on. Star, we just talked about yours. Dan Trez got a podcast. Eddie got a movement. Sam got a movement. Let's peace out with our movements.
Yeah, definitely. It's like I said, this is like the Transformers or the superpower or whatever of panelists and a bunch of non-conformists on here. Like I think we all are probably non-conformists in what we do. So who do we have? Who's up next? Whose information do you have up here?
Well, right now I'm showing the Fly Guys podcast so those who are watching this on YouTube or Facebook, we do have a podcast and a proper podcast platform. So you can go to any of the podcast platforms, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Anchor, and you'll find the Fly Guys podcast. So listen to our old episodes. We're always getting up to date and putting our new content up. So we thank you for listening, and check us out on the podcast.
All right. And again, yes, definitely check out the Fly Guys podcast. And Shay, what you got going on, lady?
Our nonprofit is fixing the foundation. We're fixing the roots. And so we use literacy to make sure kids can read, because half the kids in our country can't read properly. So we start with making sure they can read, but we also work on making sure that they're getting accurate information, getting the real history of our country, things like that. And you can find us all over the internet. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, Families for the number 4, His Glory. So it's Families 4HG. And if you do start following us, stay tuned, because we're about to update and rebrand with a name that better fits our mission.
All right. Dope. So Eddie, what you got?
So what I got going on right now is I am currently trying to work every network that I have my hands in to make sure that we are all actively making sure that as many of our people are registered to vote properly, using the means that we have, whatever system it is, however flawed it is, making sure that people are, fine, because there's nothing but a set of rules. Okay, we got to do what? Making sure everybody has a proper ID, making sure that people are registered to vote. And then I'm trying to get people to commit in every state to make sure that people get to the polls during early voting, make sure they get to the polls during the election. Because what we won't do is let this little orange bastard stay in D.C. at 1600 because folk aren't voting. No, I'm sorry. In the DMV, we want him to go. You know, and I can't really say what I want to say because I have a question, and it was real simple. You know, where are the Lee Harvey Oswalds? Where do they go?
I wasn't ready. Oh, the question was rhetorical. The answer was horrible. Okay, so all right, so Dan Trez, what you got going on, brother?
Once again, my podcast with my Killer Tape at on Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and SoundCloud. So please check it out. You can follow me. Really, if you just Google Dan Trezoma, you're gonna find all my stuff, all my writing, everything. In 2020, I'm really gonna step up my capoeira game. So I'm looking to do some workshops throughout the country. So if you want to book me to do some workshops on capoeira, come holla at a scholar. And I also do lectures as well. I try to do more workshops and panels. And next year, actually, I'm going to launch my, we're going to start it locally with my plan to the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, and start it nationally. I am going to start a support group for Black men and dealing with our emotions and working it through the emotional spectrum. So I'm starting that up, and I'm going to creating that curriculum now, and I wanted to expand. So holla at a scholar if you want to do that.
Much needed. Dope. And then we have Sam. What you got? What you got, brother? You know, Sam with the little delay.
Is
Sam muted? We can't hear you, Sam. We can't hear you. Is he talking?
He's talking.
We can't, Sam, we can't hear you.
Unmute yourself, Sam.
I did. You won't hear me now. I hate this.
Dust yourself off and try again.
It drives me crazy. Star don't with me yet. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm on Instagram, Sam's Corner 2018. What I'm trying to do is just to get my platform together, but I'm really on a movement of introspective self-love, where I think as Black people, we got to start building ourselves on the inside from the ground up. We got to get rid of all of those old foundations and old ways of thinking and mentalities. And I believe that as a community, we can't move forward until we start to build that firmer foundation within ourselves. So that's where my platform is, and that's kind of the direction I'm moving in.
See, it was worth the delay. See, that's dope. Yeah, because it all starts with how we operate as an individual. We can't show love if we are void of love, right? If we don't have love within ourselves, then we can't, show love. So that's very important. I appreciate that, Sam. And thanks so much, Sister Monique, Brother Jomo. Again, like Dan Trez said, everybody for tuning in. Y'all could be anywhere right now, but y'all are here listening to us. All love, power, and respect to our community. Like I said, I love y'all. Everything. Like I can do a poor job sometimes at describing what I do or what all I have going on, but everything I move, I'm an advocate for our community. And I've been around for a while, so it's just much love to us, to you all for tuning in. Becco?
All right, well, great. Thanks for tuning in to the Fly Guys Show, the Fly Guys Podcast. I'm your host, Seiko Varner, with my co-host, the beautiful, the incomparable, the captivating, the super intelligent, and everything else in the world, Queen Star. Give it up to Queen Star, ladies and gentlemen.
I appreciate
and we want to give it
all
up to
of that.
Crumb TV. And we want to give it up to Crumb, man. Crumb, thank you for allowing us to hop in on your platform. And I want to say peace, do some great things, and we love you. Okay, and I'm done. Yeah, in the broadcast. Yes, sir. Hey man, come on, bring this to an end. I got to fart. I don't want it to happen online.